Today I'm going to walk you through the first activity that you're going to do on VCarve, which is creating a basic sign and then seeing different effects that different toolpaths will have on your project. So you're going to open up VCarve and create a new file. The first thing that you have to do is set up your job size. Your job size is determined by whatever piece of wood that you want. In future projects, you will create your own dimensions by saying, I want a sign that's 10 by 18. For this project, we're going to start off by a 5 by 18 inch sign. That's a thickness of 0.75. Later on, we're probably going to have to change this based on whatever wood we have available in the wood shop. You want your material surface Z to be your Z0 position. We're doing a single-sided project. And you want your XY datum to be the middle. The XY datum is the origin. The default is the lower left-hand corner, which is here. We want it to be the middle. When all these job setup portions are complete, you're going to hit OK. If you made a mistake on the job setup portion, you can click Set Job Dimension and Origin, and then fix your error. Now I have to draw my design. In the Create Vectors portion, these are all drawing tools to create a design to machine. I'm going to make my text. I'll type in Fernandez, and I'm going to create it. Let's say I don't like this font size. As long as the Fernandez is in purple, I can change different font by selecting the font I want and then hitting apply. If you don't hit apply, the change isn't made. If you don't have this in purple, nothing will happen. We can't hit apply. So you need to click on your text, select the font you want and hit apply. When the text is the font that you want, then you can close out. I'm going to move my text with the arrow pad. Let's say this wasn't correct. Let's say it was horizontal. I can rotate it by clicking the Rotate Selected Objects tool and making it whatever I needed. So usually when you use a text tool, it defaults to this horizontal position. If I just hit 90, it will keep on turning it until it's where I want it. At this time, if you wanted to add any circles or add any more text, you can. I'm just going to keep it a really basic sign. You could do your last name, the name of a city, numbers, whatever you want. I'm just going to do the Fernandez for now. If you want to edit the spacing between letters, you can click Edit Text Spacing. And if you just click, they get closer together. If you want it farther apart, you need to hold Shift and then click. Some fonts you will need to edit the text spacing. Most of the time you're okay. I don't want to be using the text spacing tool anymore, so I'm going to hit Escape, and you'll see my cursor changed. So now I don't have any tool selected. I've decided now that I have all the text I want, I don't want any more shapes, and I'm ready to start machining. I'm going to click Toolpaths. I'm going to hit this pin button so it stays on my screen. And then I'm going to start with a VCarve. We're going to make these signs in real life. The toolpath that we use to make them will be a VCarve toolpath. So I select my VCarve. I'm going to put a flat depth on this. This just limits the overall depth of the cutting bit. You don't have to. You could have it unchecked, but sometimes the automatic default will be too deep and it will cut through the material. So I'm going to put in a default of 1/2 inch. Doesn't really matter. Again, it's whatever you want. Now I want to make sure this tool I have selected is the VBit 90-degree 1/2 inch tool. Sometimes this will be condensed, so you have to hit the expand button here. So then I hit my 90-degree half-inch V-bit. And I need to change this diameter to 0.625 because in our wood shop we have a 5/8 or 0.625 inch V-bit. That's where I'm getting this number. Once you type that in, you hit OK. And you don't need to mess with any of this other stuff. You can leave this all the same. But I do want you to put a name in it. Fernandez V-carve, or something else that makes sense, and hit calculate. Now I forgot to click my name, so it's saying no vectors were selected. You need to select one. All you're drawing is vectors. Anything that you put here is going to be a vector. So I click my vector, and I hit calculate, and now it will do it. So I want to see what it actually looks like. To do that, I can hit preview all or preview visible. Preview all means show me all the toolpaths, what it would look like if I used all the toolpaths. Preview visible means only show me the ones that have a check mark. In this case, it doesn't matter because I only have one. Now I see what it looks like, machined. Let's say I wanted to make a change. I would go to 2D view and I could make a change. You'll notice that when I go back to my 3D view, nothing changed. And you might be frustrated. The problem is you need to close out of this and then hit recalculate because you made a change. Recalculate's like refresh. Now I can go back to my preview tool. I need to reset the preview. If I just run it, I'm going to get both of them here, which I don't want. I have to reset, then I can preview and see my change. The V-carve operation will be the one that we actually make. In order to learn about other types of toolpaths, I want you to see what it would look like if you use the profile and pocket tool. When we use the profile and pocket tool, I also want you to use the either 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch end mill so you can see how those affect designs. So for the profile one, I'm going to click profile. I'm going to go to 2D. I select my name again, and I'm going to select an end mill, either the 1/4 or the 1/8 inch one. Depending upon your text, the 1/4 inch one may not fit. So I selected that. I set my set depth. You always want ramps on, but you don't have to mess with anything else right now. Give it a name. Hit calculate. I'm going to reset my preview, and I only want to have this checked off, the profile, because I want to see what that looks like. You could see it runs into different things here, like the E. Some of this doesn't really look like it should. I got some missing portions here that weren't machined. Actually, this is it's not that it's missing. This runs into the A because the bit was too big. So you can see a profile is tracing on that line. So it's tracing on all these lines. If I use the 1/8 inch one, it would probably come out a little better on this design. The 1/4 inch is probably a little too big. That's why it's in some areas like over here, it's hitting. Now I want you to see what a pocket does. So again, I go back to my 2D view, and instead of profiling, I come to the right here and I pocket it and click. And I'm going to have my depth again be 1/2 inch. I'm making them all the same just because I want to. I'm going to change this from the 1/8 inch one to 1/4 inch. Make sure ramp's on just like with the profile. Leave the rest of this as is. Again, I want you to name it. Hit calculate. And now I have 3 different tool paths. Reset your preview. Let's see what the pocket does. Hit preview visible toolpaths. And now I can see what pocketing looks like. The pocketing is like a recess. And you could see in some of these parts, like right here in the A, it was too big, it couldn't recess at all. Same thing here with the N and the R. The tool is too big to fit in a lot of these areas. So if I wanted to do this, I'd probably have to switch to the 1/8 inch one. You can make any changes you want. If I wanted to do that for real, I could just double click this and I could change it to the 1/8 inch one. I'm not going to do that because I'm just showing you some stuff. Now when you finally want to actually machine something, when we're doing this for real, you're likely going to have to come back to the job size here. Take your actual piece of wood, put in your actual measurements. When you put in your actual measurements, you might have to readjust the size of your text in case it looks funny, and then hit recalculate. Once it's set up for your actual dimensions, you'll hit save toolpath. We don't want to machine all 3 of these on your project. We only want the VCarve one. So I'll only select the VCarve one. I need my post processor to be G-code MM. So I scroll down until I find G-code MM. See, it says G-code MM. Then I hit save toolpaths. Make sure only the VCarve one is selected. And then we usually have to save it to a flash drive. And then we put the flash drive in the CNC machine. I can't save it to a flash drive right now because I don't have one in the computer. And then you could go to the CNC machine and run your file.